In this video, I'm going to talk about PCOS, and I'm going to go over the reasons why it might be challenging for women with PCOS to actually get pregnant and what you can actually do to change that. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Mark Sklar, also known as the fertility expert. Everything that I'm sharing with you in this Fertility TV episode comes from my 21 years of experience as a natural fertility coach, helping couples from all over the world get pregnant. And I want to help you too. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll have actionable steps that you can start implementing today to get pregnant with PCOS. All right, so I've covered PCOS in many previous videos, but I haven't done a lot of coverage of it this year, which is why I'm circling back to covering PCOS again, because there's so much that I love covering around this. And the first woman I ever supported, who I helped get pregnant, and I helped her have 2 children, she had PCOS. So this is near and dear to my heart. As we start this conversation, or my part of the conversation, hopefully you're listening and then you're going to give me some questions in the comments below so that I can give you some feedback and we can actually have a conversation. But as we start this, there are some key things with PCOS that I want to cover. This video is not intended to cover kind of all the primary symptoms that you might have and all the different ways that PCOS will present. I have previous videos on that subject and covering all of that, which you can check out. And we'll leave those links in this video as well. But in this video, I want to cover some key points, and then I want to get into some actionable steps that you can take to actually make change in your PCOS, because it is controllable, it is manageable. You can take steps and make changes that will make profound impacts in your situation and help you to regulate your hormones. So the 2 things we need to recognize, that these are the 2 main things that we're trying to adjust. Okay, one is blood sugar. So we want to make sure that your glucose, your insulin are managed properly, not just throughout your life, but throughout the day, from day to day, and within a day, from morning to lunch to evening to bedtime. We want to make sure that that's balanced properly. So that's a big thing as we're talking about these tips in just a minute. That's a big thing that I want you to keep in mind as we're talking about that. Okay. The next thing is androgens. And when I talk about androgens, I mean testosterone. Specifically, there are some offshoots of it, but we're going to keep it simple for this video. And we're going to talk about androgens as a whole. And for those of you who don't quite know what androgens are, those are hormones that are more dominant in males versus females, although we both have them. And in PCOS women, your androgen hormones, your testosterone, is a little bit more dominant. And so we want to temper that a little bit, right? We want to lower that, okay, and decrease those levels. So that's how I'm framing this conversation as we start talking about some of the steps that you can start to take that will have huge, profound impacts on helping you regulate your hormones, have a healthy cycle, and help you regulate your PCOS. Okay, so probably the number one thing that is essential when we start talking about polycystic ovarian syndrome and how you can help to manage it and support it is diet. Now, I know that we are all looking for that magic pill that will help regulate things, okay? PCOS is very much in your control, very much something that you can manage and that you can support by daily changes, lifestyle changes that you make on a daily basis and keep continuing throughout the weeks. Okay, so much so that this becomes a habit. And the number one thing is diet, what you're eating. This is so important. With PCOS, whether you are a classical PCOS presentation, overweight, or you are an atypical PCOS presentation and on the thinner side, diet is still essential. Okay, and for all of you, that means we need to manage your blood sugar and manage your sugar intake, which means we can't have a lot of sugary things, which I hope goes without saying across the board, but we can't have a lot of sugary things. We need to eat a lot of whole foods, a lot of protein, good healthy protein. I would love to see about at least 90 grams of protein in your diet per day, and good healthy fat sprinkled in, and lots of veggies. So even though I say I don't want to see a lot of sugar, you might be thinking, well, I could still have fruit. Yes, you can, but in moderation. So I really want to see this kind of be managed in that way. Now, you didn't hear me talk about a lot of carbs when I was just talking about diet, and that's because carbs get converted into sugar, and we want to stay away from high sugar foods. A simple way for you to know what works for you in your body versus somebody else's body, okay, is to use what's called a continuous glucose monitor, okay, CGM. Those are these little patches that go, I have one on my desk and I don't have it in front of me, but those are those little patches that go on the back of our arm, and they connect to an app on your phone, and they're tracking your blood sugar throughout the day. So you could see that when you eat certain things, or if you fast for too long, or whatever it might be, your waking blood sugar, all of these things, you could see what all of that looks like through the app and throughout the day, and understand, well, okay, I had some rice and this is what happened, or I had some protein and this is what happened. And I want you to really understand what's going on and what triggers your blood sugar to spike. And those are the things that we need to cut back on. So in general, that would mean cutting back on high carb foods, okay? And really sticking to just whole foods, protein, fat, veggies in your diet throughout the day. And I think that will be the best suited for you. When we eat these types of foods, we help to minimize the inflammatory response in our body and help to regulate our blood sugar. So some other foods that you can make sure that you incorporate into your diet are anti-inflammatory foods like turmeric. That would be a great thing to put in. Fatty fish, right? Some good salmon would be wonderful. Berries are always great in that regard. And one of the things I really like, because it not only helps on the inflammatory side, but has so many good benefits, one of which, by the way, is helping to regulate your blood sugar, is green tea. Now, just because I say that doesn't mean I want you going out and drinking, a pitcher of green tea, but having some green tea in your diet every day will be beneficial to support this as well. Okay. The other key thing that you have within your control that is also essential for helping to regulate and manage blood sugar, manage our lifestyle, manage PCOS, is exercise. So we just talked about things you can do to put into your body. Now we're going to talk about things that you can do with your body. Right? So I want you to move. I want you to exercise. And my goal for all of you is that you exercise for at least 30 to 45 minutes every day. And it could just be a good brisk walk where you are just moving with a purpose, right? We're not walking our dog and stopping every 3 feet to smell the roses. We are walking with a purpose. And I want you to do that daily. I also want you to do exercise that is helpful for relaxation. So maybe that's not always walking. Maybe that's going to be like yoga or meditation, which I'm going to group into this exercise piece as well. So I want to see you bring all of that in. Now, I don't want to see you overdoing it with exercise and going to these extreme circuit training classes, because that starts to work with a lot of weights. And when we start working with weights, we build testosterone. And if you remember at the beginning of this video, I talked about not wanting to build testosterone and androgens, because that's something that we're trying to regulate and lower, right, in our PCOS individuals. So we want to be careful for that, all right? So that is something I want to make sure that you understand when we're talking about exercise. I want you moving, and I want you definitely to do cardio exercises, but I want to be very careful with the weights. You can do some weights, but low weight and low intensity, nothing high or extreme when we are talking about exercise. I should also mention that a great time in the day to exercise is after your largest meal. So after you have your largest meal, to go for a nice brisk walk would be really helpful to not only digest that food, but to help you regulate your blood sugar as well. So keep that in mind. The third thing that I want to cover when we are talking about supporting our hormones and regulating PCOS is stress management. That's right. What I have found over the last 21 years, and with supporting couples in my HOPE program, and I see this just repeatedly over and over, is that the higher stress that we are under, the more difficult it is to regulate our hormones and our cycles. Okay? We are never going to get rid of stress, but we could learn how to manage it better. And that is something that I routinely see, and I want to make sure that you don't continue to make that same mistake. And I'm going to tell you, I see this over and over. I have someone I'm working with, we have their cycles regulated, they're doing well. 4 months down the road, 5 months down the road, whatever it might be, they reach out to me and say, Mark, everything was going so well, but you know what? My cycles are not regular right now, and I don't know why. And my number one question, the first thing I ask is, what's going on with stress? How stressful is your life and what are you doing to manage it? So what are things that you can do to manage your stress? Well, we talked about some of those already. That was exercise, right? And I did kind of bleed into that exercise piece and talk about meditation. But we need to find things in your life that you like to do that are helpful for you to help kind of get away from the stress of the world and kind of just detach, right? And escape. And so that might be going for a hike. For me, it's going for a hike. It's going camping. It's getting out in nature. For you, it might be yoga. For you, it might be meditation. For you, it might be painting or crocheting or playing music or whatever it is. But whatever it is for you, I want to make sure that you're doing it. And not just when you're stressed, but regularly. Now, what we tend to do, by the way, when we're stressed is we tend to not do well with the things we need to be doing well. We tend to say, oh, I don't have time to eat well and cook for myself, so I eat poorly and I eat fast food. I don't have time to exercise, so I don't do it. I don't have time to meditate or paint or whatever it is that's going to be helpful for my stress management because I'm so stressed and I have so much to do. Those are the times that you need to do it more. Those are the times where you actually have to be stricter with yourself and make sure that you are doing all the things that you need to be doing because that is when you really need it. But we need to create those habits now and make sure that we're doing every day and multiple times throughout the week so that we have built it into our regular routine. Okay? That is how you manage stress on a regular basis, like when you don't need to, and especially when the stress peaks and you need to make sure that you are doing something to take care of it. I told you I'm giving you practical things that you can be doing today, and we're continuing that with sleep. I know you've heard me talk about sleep before, but it's essential. If you are not getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, good quality sleep, then what's going to happen is you're going to cause more stress on your body. I just talked about how stress impacts your PCOS and your hormones, and that's going to make it more difficult. So I want to make sure that you are also building in good sleep habits. Okay? Good sleep hygiene is essential. You say to yourself between 10 and 11 o'clock every night, I'm getting in bed or sooner, which is better. Okay? And then I'm going to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And when I'm getting ready for bed, that I'm not on my phone. I'm not watching TV to go to sleep. I'm just letting my brain detach and shut off and go to sleep on its own. That is super, super valuable. I don't want to see you waking up early and compromising your sleep for exercise or anything else, okay? Sleep is essential. In my household, that's number one for me. I want to make sure I get enough sleep or else I can't function and do these sorts of things for all of you. All recommendations for anything would not be complete if we didn't talk about some supplements that you could be doing. Okay, or taking for that matter. So some key things, we talked about ways for you to regulate your blood sugar, right? That's one of the key things. So myo-ionisitol is important for that, or actually the ionisitol family, myo-ionisitol and D-chiro, specifically important for PCOS women. That's something that you can incorporate easily into your daily regimen. Essential fatty acids like fish oils, also essential for helping to regulate your hormones and your blood sugar. So you want to make sure that you add that in. I love adding in magnesium. It's beneficial on many fronts, but it helps you relax, manage stress, and helps you sleep better as well. Two other key things that you can add in, you can take these as supplements, but you can also have this in food, is spearmint, which helps to lower androgens, and cinnamon, which helps to regulate blood sugar. Those are two things that you can add into your diet. You can add the cinnamon into a lot of foods, and you can add the spearmint as a tea, right? So those are ways that you can incorporate these foods and these supplements into your overall plan. So we've talked about multiple things. Some of these things are things that you will do. Some of these things are things that you will take. I support couples all the time within my HOPE program to help regulate their PCOS symptoms, and more specifically to diagnose and evaluate which type of PCOS they have, and then from there create a customized plan utilizing some of the tools that I just recommended for you to create that customized, personalized plan for them to get them the results that they deserve. I believe that every woman with PCOS can and should conceive naturally, and I want to see the same thing for you. To keep learning more about your fertility and PCOS, I want you to watch this video where I go over how to get pregnant naturally, my 3 best tips. And if you want my help and want me as your fertility coach, remember to apply to qualify for the HOPE program using the link in the description below. Until the next video, stay fertile.